Hey, how's it going? So, I have seen the trailer for Palmer. I just watched it right now. I didn't really say much through it, but I really like the way this film looks. I'm going to watch the trailer again and kind of break it down little by little to see some of the things that I noticed and that I really liked. I hadn't heard anything about this film. Hadn't read anything about it or seen any previews about it that it was going to be released. So, this was the first time that I had seen a trailer or even heard about it. Let's go through it.
I'm glad you're back. I imagine it's going to take some time getting used to.
I like how grounded
You
the
just
film
gotta
looks
get
right off the
yourself
bat.
back out there.
The music is really cool too.
You were all USA player 2 years in a row at Riverside?
Yes, sir.
They have a little bit of exposition background there. Football. It's always cool when there's football in a movie.
That boy, that's Sam. His mama took off. He'll be staying with us till she's back.
You know your boy, right?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I hadn't picked up on the relation between
You
them
know when the
both.
mom is coming back.
He's gonna have to go in the system.
There's something seriously wrong with that kid.
How did you end up in prison?
Input from other characters.
I did what I did.
Prison, more exposition there.
Both
Should be
the ladies did
interesting.
today.
See the story behind that.
Listen to me, son. Kids are mean, especially when they see something that they ain't used to seeing.
You ain't nothing but a criminal. You got no right looking after any child.
Interesting.
There's things in this world you can be, and there's things that you can't. How many boys do you see on that show?
None.
What does that tell you?
That I can be the first.
I love that attitude.
Truth is, I haven't felt like I was good at anything until Sam. Shelly came back.
Couldn't stay out of trouble, could you?
I can't abandon that boy. I will not abandon that boy.
Yeah, I really like the music.
Party the other day. Yeah.
Careful, Palmer. It's hot. Pinkies, please.
Real good.
That looks like fun.
That boy, that's Sam. His mama took off. He'll be staying with us till she's back.
So obviously there's some story there that is in the background as to why Sam is staying with these characters. I mentioned earlier that I really like how the film comes across as being very grounded. And what I mean by that is like it doesn't appear to be as a film that's going to have like a lot of explosions and visual effects, like everywhere and I mean, who knows? You never know what could pop up in a story, right? It seems like it's going to be very grounded in the sense that it's going to be very relatable and have a sense of realism, right? Where we're following our character, we're following our main character, and we're seeing what they're going through and what they're thinking, and everything that they are having to deal with internally, and also receiving all the criticism from the outside world. It seems like right off the bat, our character here has a lot of exposition to him. He was in prison. He had a history with sports, I want to say. Did they mention that?
You were all USA player 2 years in a row at Riverside?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so he had a history with sports, and I like seeing, football and just all different types of sports in movies. I think it's really cool. It's something that I can relate to. I feel like it speaks to me in that sense. I've always been attracted to grounded films like this. Like, it reminds me of films that I like, such as The Fighter with Mark Wahlberg, Invincible with Mark Wahlberg as well, 8 Mile with Eminem. I really like those movies too, where I feel like as a filmmaker, I could grab a cast and pick up my camera and just go film a scene, obviously with like a script and stuff, or maybe even, a little bit of improvisation. But when it comes to locations, you're not really having to struggle finding over the top locations and things like that. You could just take a room inside a house or on filming on the streets, depending on what it is that you're going for. The environment that I'm getting here, I'm not sure if they mention where exactly it takes place, but maybe like hints like the school and different things we see can tell. But it seems like it's such a very small town or something. Like it's very. It seems like one of those. Maybe this kind of give it. If anyone knows like what this location is, or if it's playing true to the movie, but it seems like one of those small towns where everyone knows each other and like they can kind of get an idea of what's going on, and you see familiar faces day in and day out. A small diner, restaurant type of thing. I like that this trailer appears to show a lot of different elements that will be in the film, such as something that I feel is very relatable to a lot of people. And that's the element that parents have children that sometimes appear different or unique from other children. We grow up believing that a boy should behave this way, they should be interested in these things, they should like all of these types of toys, shows, movies, and they shouldn't be interested in things that girls typically like. And I think there's still a lot of back and forth with that around the world, and people not seeing it from each other's perspectives. And I like that the film really touches on that too. You know, even our main character here appears to have that mentality where, hey, you're a boy, you shouldn't be playing with
boy,
dolls
right?
or something, you know?
You know you're a boy, right?
Yeah.
And I like the confidence that Sam has that you can see in the trailer right off the bat. Like, I'm going to be the first boy that, you know, like, yeah, I know I'm a boy and this is what I like and this is who I am.
World you can be, and there's things that you can't. How many boys do you see on that show?
None.
What does that tell you?
That I can be the first.
It's just a great perspective, a great attitude to have, I think, on things, you know, and it really goes to show that nothing is set in stone, and there are always a lot of possibilities on things. So I feel like our main character is going to be struggling with coming to an understanding of that based on the way he grew up, maybe of the different things that have happened to him in his life. I'd imagine that his own issues aren't going to seem as magnified as they do when it comes to him potentially losing Sam. It's kind of like in the movie Big Daddy, right, with Adam Sandler, where you have this child that appears on the doorstep, and all of a sudden he went from struggling in his own life and not really caring about many things to all of a sudden caring about this child, you know, and about his well-being. I feel like it's gonna have that same element too, and that is probably relatable to so many people. And it seems like there's a love interest here as well, you know, which can kind of help. That can kind of help round things out as for our character.
Truth is, I haven't felt like I was good at anything until Sam.
You know, that's a very powerful line right there, because I feel like a lot of people have that mentality, or they feel that way about themselves too, where they feel like maybe they're not good enough for something, or maybe they don't have much meaning to their life. Like, what is it that they're doing? And I've always been fascinated with the thought of life is all about making connections with people and building relationships and helping people. You know, you give back, and you're there for people, you're there to help them, and that gives you a sense of meaning.
Shelly came back.
So, you know, in every story there seems to be conflict. It's the conflict that drives the story, and I think this character Shelly, which is the appears to be the mother of Sam, is going to be having her own obstacles that she's going through, and you know, it seems like she comes back later in the film and throwing off this relationship that our characters develop.
Couldn't stay out of trouble, could you?
That seems like a heartbreaking scene right there. Yeah, like all of these, when it comes to when it comes to like relating to films and stuff, locations I think are a huge part of it. A lot of the locations we can see these characters are in, the world that they're in, I feel like are places that I've been to myself, and it's cool, you know, to see the world that they're in and how that helps drive the story even further. I feel like they're really going to bond. Meanwhile, always dealing with the criticism from the outside world and the input that is being received from everyone around. I feel like Sam will struggle with that, but not as much as our main character will. And I think this movie is going to have themes of embracement and owning up to things and really having a sense of understanding and being proud of who you are and not taking things for granted and really learning how to see things from a different perspective. So overall, I love the tone of the film. I love the color grading. The colors are like kind of desaturated too, which is a look I really like when it comes to having films like this. It's cool to see Justin Timberlake in another film as well. And especially in a role like this, you know, I feel like it's such a very mature role. I feel like it's a very, you know, you compare this to like his Sean Parker role in The Social Network, which is a film that came out a while back, and a few other ones that he has done. That one was more like a wild card, like he is described as in the film. And this one is more like, you know, he's grounded. It feels like he almost has a sense of being defeated already at this point in his life. And that should be interesting, you know, because I feel like we all have been defeated at some point in our lives, and it's all about how we respond to that and what we decide to do. You know, you have the element of kids bullying Sam and also him trying to overcome that, but also just hanging in there. And I think Sam will be a role model for a lot of kids as well, even adults. You know, have you ever felt like you couldn't be who you want it to be, or you second guess if you shouldn't be your true self because nobody understood or accepted you for how you were? This is something that probably really speaks to you as well, even if it's on a different light, or even if it's not exactly the same type of situation. You can feel more or less like that you've been there.
That they ain't used to seeing.
You ain't nothing but a criminal. You got no right looking after any child.
You know, he's going to be, I can tell right off the bat in this trailer, they really fit in a lot of criticism that he is going to take. So it should be interesting, you know, how he's going to just ignore the outside noise and just go about living his life for the better and for himself. So I'm really interested in this film. I don't know if it's based on a book or if there's some type of background to it, but I hadn't heard anything about it. I was just skimming through and I saw this trailer popped up and it looked interesting to me, so I wanted to kind of just share my thoughts on it so far. Let me know what you think about the trailer. We will talk about it further when it is released. I believe it's released next month in January, right? So you can watch it. We can talk about it further and even share more thoughts about it. All right. So I hope you have a great day. I will catch you on another video. See you.